I've always been interested in the concept of time travel. To go back and correct one's mistakes, or to see the world 100 years from now, really piques my curiosity. Many games have dealt with this idea, and none more famous than the classic RPG, Chrono Trigger. But it was released over 20 years ago, and as we've seen on the Nostalgia or Not series, what was once seen as great can begin to lose its luster. So is Chrono Trigger still a classic in our present time? And will it be one in the future? Or is it best left in the past to look back on with nostalgia? Let's see if its greatness can transcend time itself.
Chrono Trigger was birthed from a pedigree unlike any other game before it. The creators of the Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest series joined forces to produce it, and if that's not notoriety enough, the art design was done by Akira Toriyama of Dragon Ball fame. The finished product was released in 1995 as an exclusive for the Super Nintendo. Chrono Trigger takes place on a world similar to our own. The current year is 1000 AD, and you play as Chrono, a katana-wielding young man who, while at the Millennial Fair, literally runs into a tough and outgoing girl named Marley. Unbeknownst to Chrono, she is the Princess of Guardia, and the two spend the day together enjoying the food, fun, and festivities. While watching an experiment run by childhood friend Luca, a hole is ripped through the very fabric of time, and Marley gets sent through. So like any hero worth his salt, Chrono follows in an attempt to save her. Now what started as a rescue mission quickly turns into something far greater. As you progress, you discover that an alien, referred to as Lavos, is burrowed deep within the planet. The creature is harvesting energy from all living beings, which will lead to the eventual destruction of the world, and so that it can spawn the next generation that will continue the cycle on other planets. Chrono and his group vow to change this future and must travel through time to gain new allies, rectify other major events in time, learn more about Lavos, and acquire the strength needed to defeat it. Even though the storyline is a straightforward doomsday scenario, I still enjoyed it for a number of reasons, with the excellent characters being at the top of the list. Yes, Chrono is a completely stereotypical, silent, uber-strong, wakes-up-late hero, and usually I hate this trope, but I don't mind it here since he is surrounded with an outstanding cast of companions who have rich backstories and unique personalities. My favorite of the bunch is the quick-witted, brave, yet sullen Frog. While not always a frog, he was transformed into one by a villain from his time period, the sub-boss Magus. He vows revenge for not only his transformation, but for the death of his dear friend Cyrus. Frog is incredibly likable because you can really feel for him, and that's why all the characters are special, because you really get to know and form a bond with them. Ayla, Frog, Luca, Marley, and even Robo all get their moment to shine, and I haven't cared about a robot this much since Johnny 5. The story also earns my praise because of the nature of the final boss. Lavos is a huge threat to the planet, without question, but what it's doing is not out of malice. It's an alien feeding off of the planet because that's what it must do in order to survive and carry on its species. Like an animal, there is no right and wrong, just instinct. It makes you question your views on what is seen as evil, since Lavos is not the traditional mustache-twirling villain. At first, you travel through time by finding different gates that will take you to a specific time period, but eventually you get a time machine called the Epic, so you can return to any period that you've previously visited. You move your characters across a world map and make your way to towns, forests, caves, and castles, which is where the combat will take place. Although the world is pretty large and the layout changes based on the current time period, you never really feel lost. I never got stumped on what I needed to do next, and if I did need some guidance, surprisingly the NPCs provide a lot of important information. This makes you actually want to talk to the villagers, because it will often help, and then you'll be pleased to find out they have some depth and story themselves. It builds a world that actually feels alive. The core of the game is played out in menu-based combat. However, this isn't the traditional take turns to attack affair. Chrono Trigger employs an active time battle, which allows enemies to attack even if you're navigating menus. Each character will get a chance to attack based on their speed stat. The faster the character, the quicker your attack meter will fill. And if you're fast enough, this can result in multiple attacks before an enemy can attack even once. I love this mechanic because it makes for more intense and exciting battles, since you'll have to think of your game plan quickly. The battles are also unique in that usually in older RPGs, there are random encounters, and there's some sort of spinning screen that will take you to the fight menus. But in Chrono Trigger, you see the enemies on the field, and you can either avoid them or engage them. There's no loading to enter the fight screen, you immediately start, which makes it feel like there are a lot less interruptions, and it keeps the game moving at a faster pace. The sheer number and variety of attacks you can learn also keeps you interested in the fighting. All characters get both physical and magical attacks known as techs. Not only that, but you can get double and triple techs, which will use 2 or 3 characters to attack simultaneously to land devastating blows. It makes a simple fighting system have a lot more strategy, because some bosses may be more susceptible to certain techs and party members. So you'll try out different combinations of parties, and it keeps all the characters involved, which I like because I always felt bad leaving characters out. The game is paced very well, and I never needed to level grind. I've always hated grinding. It's tedious and it pads out games. But here you're always at a level where you can win. It doesn't mean you'll always win, but if you try out different team members and tactics, you can definitely overcome the bosses without going back to grind. The whole look of the game, from settings, characters, enemies, to animation, is top tier. It's what pixel artists of today's generation should strive for. Chrono Trigger has magnificent visuals that are on par with its impressive story and gameplay. The only complaints I have with the presentation are very minor. Sometimes when you're in battle, the menu box takes up too much of the screen, so that it blocks off some of the action. This is more apparent when you're fighting a larger enemy. Also, while on the overworld screen, this is the only time where the game's age can show. It's acceptable, but it doesn't look good, especially in comparison to the amazing sprites that are seen throughout most of the game. This is just me nitpicking, as it won't take away any enjoyment from playing. The music is the final piece that ties every fantastic element together. It always feels right and helps evoke the necessary emotion depending on what the story asks from it. From intense battles to somber farewells, the soundtrack is nothing but exceptional. There's never a moment where it feels annoyingly repetitive, and the songs immediately stick with you. It leapfrogged its way into one of my favorite game soundtracks ever. What's incredible about this game is the actions you take are important to the story. Things like when you choose to fight Lavos, whether you choose to do side quests, or something even as small as eating a lunch left out on a table will affect the story's outcome. And this plays well with the time travel theme, as you see your decisions in the past affecting the future. The game has 12 possible endings, and this makes the replayability skyrocket. If you've beaten the game once, you can enter a new game plus, which lets you keep the stats and weapons from the previous save and start the game from the beginning, so you can try for the alternate endings. The game doesn't take too long to finish either, especially for an RPG, which altogether make another playthrough very enticing.
Chrono Trigger is a game with so much praise and hype surrounding it, it seems impossible for it to live up to. So is it nostalgia or not? It is undoubtedly not, and to put it simply, it's a masterpiece. It shattered every expectation I had, providing me with a gameplay and storytelling experience like no other. With the new game plus and the alternate endings, it'll keep me going back to it for years to come. If you've never played Chrono Trigger before, then wait no longer, because this is a classic that time cannot touch. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time, and remember, it's all fun and games.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and if you liked that video, why not check out the previous episode of Nostalgia or Not, where I take a look at Sonic Adventure for the Sega Dreamcast. And if you really like what I'm doing, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again!